Hive Bridge has a huge problem. No one likes it, it's so dead! Of course, that's not true. I love the game, but the game is dead, and that is because of a variety of reasons. In this video, we'll go over why no one plays Hive Bridge and how to fix it. This is how I would fix Hive Bridge. The Hive's arcade was released in June 2022, around 2 years ago as of this video. The arcade contained Block Drop, Capture the Flag, Ground Wars, and The Bridge. Like all new or returning games, they would be played for a long time until people got bored of it not being as fun as Treasure Wars, now Bed Wars, Sky Wars, or Just Build. These games in particular dominate the Hive due to having a large fan base, several YouTubers whose videos mainly focus on them, and being overall well designed. They weren't perfect games, but games that hold nostalgia for people and games that are followed by the masses generally have their flaws pointed out less. These arcade games were more flawed than the most popular games, and they had their flaws pointed out more. To add to that, it was harder to garner an audience for these games because they were kind of hidden in the arcade hub. This made them harder to find, and as such, they would be played a lot less. All of this culminated into one of the reasons that the Hive removed the arcade. After noticing that Capture the Flag had a 30% player boost after being added to the regular hub, the arcade was noticed as being not what Hive expected, and while keeping all the games, the arcade was removed, and the 4 games were officially put onto the lineup of games in the new hub. This resulted in a player boost for all the games, but they still couldn't compete with the bigger, more pronounced games. This video isn't about how to make Hive Bridge the Hive's most popular game, but how to make Hive Bridge a game worth players' times. When players notice a flaw in a game that makes it less fun to play, people will want to play it less, naturally. Speaking of the flaws, let's talk about those. I've been mentioning the flaws of Hive Bridge a lot and how that's a detriment to the game, but I haven't specifically pointed any of those out. Let's do that. First up, skill-based matchmaking. This isn't actually a bad idea, but the execution was terrible. First, they put skill-based matchmaking onto this unfortunate dud of a game. When it was new and played more, it made some sense, but as the game waned in popularity, skill-based matchmaking had to go. And it didn't, making queue times for solos take forever. Skill-based matchmaking is supposed to accurately assign you a different bridge queuer that is of a similar skill. The meta to grind bridge is to play duos, and that doesn't allow for leaderboard grinding. Add to that the fact that bridge has low average players, even fewer that play solos over duos, meaning you have fewer players queuing skill-based matchmaking, and you've got a big issue just to start us off. Next up is the issue of the kits. The leap is far too overpowered, and there's an argument to be made that it is there for mobile players, but that's invalidated when you use your brain and remember that anyone can use the leap. That makes for ridiculously easy wins and gives the game a faster pace for no reason. Bridge is already a fast-paced game, and it's also a hard kit to counter and easy to use, meaning it is undoubtedly the best, so good that it was actually banned in solo Hive Bridge scrims, although those aren't super professional. I'm actually thinking of somehow revitalizing Hive Bridge scrims, but that's not important. What is important is balancing the other kits. Snowballs are incredibly good. Incredibly? I think I meant to say incredibly there, but maybe not. Maybe not. But not as good as Leap, and Golden Apples are totally useless right now. Snowballs are a great item for stopping your opponents and getting combos, but 8 of them are far too powerful. The Golden Apples really are just an awful decision to pick, and there are some better fixes that would make apples viable. To differentiate from other versions of the bridge, the Hive put their own spin on it, but they did a poor job, and that's one that needs to be addressed. Finally, there's the issue of monotonous gameplay. The Bridge's major update fixed this for a time, but now Bridge is back to where it was before, with everyone basically acknowledging all maps as the same, and the game is boring. A solution for this would be breaking up the monotony and making the game more interesting to play while being the same game. That concludes the major flaws I found in this game. Alright, by now we've covered the flaws of Hive Bridge and why it's not played, so let's get into how to fix it and make it a popular game again. Well, popular-ish. Before that though, really quick, I think you should invest in subscribing to me because it takes 2 seconds for you and it gives me a bunch of motivation to continue doing this while also giving you some quality content. So, what are you waiting for? Subscribe! Okay, I'm sorry, that was probably kind of loud. Anyway, the first problem was that of skill-based matchmaking, plus a bunch of other out-of-game issues. The solution here is somewhat simple actually. First, just remove skill-based matchmaking from solos and don't add it to duos. This would remove the horrendous queue time. After that, make solos platform-based. I know, yes, I'm adding another restriction, but this one isn't nearly as bad for almost, if not all platforms, and will contribute to PC players not heavily smoking leaderboard grinding mobile players. Then, remove platform-based matchmaking from duos, as it's the game people will want to grind XP from the most, and removing it would allow for more faster XP gain while also not cheesing leaderboards. To clarify, leaderboarding is still available in solos, but the queue times will now be overwhelmingly faster and make it actually, well, a little funner to grind. Next is the issue of kits being either too overpowered or too underpowered. Our first fix is a controversial one, but the leap needs to be removed. Nerfing it in speed and distance has no use, as it will still be virtually the best one, and nerfing being hit or something is needlessly complicated. Instead, we replace it. We'll pull from another Hive game to make things more interesting, but it may need to be changed anyway. That game is Block Party. The game features a variety of power-ups, and one of those is the color teleporter. No, just kidding, that would be totally useless. I think. No, I'm talking about the instant jump boost potion. Right-clicking it when holding it gives you the jump boost effect, and I think that fits in with the bridge quite nicely and is still in line with the sort of theme set up before. The leap is an offensive item, the snowballs are defensive, but they can be kind of used as offensive anyway, don't think about it too hard, and the golden apples are a tank item. On maps like cubic platforms, arches, and city overhead, this item could be very useful, but for Technozoid, I would say that the height does not allow you to make that jump, but you can set block clutch or something. That way, the item is still super useful, but not super overpowered. It can allow for cool clutches from the offense and a possible jump block from the defense. When writing that in the script, I have no, what is a jump block? I have no clue what that means. Anyway, it would keep players on their toes while not being as game-breaking as the leap. I would also say that if you're hit by a projectile, not a weapon, you instantly fall, but that seems complicated and not as necessary. Then come the golden apples, the least used kit in Bridge, and that is for good reason. They are almost completely useless. Instead of replacing them, though, we'll keep them as inventory items. They'll be in your hotbar permanently, 2 of them, similarly to Zeka Bridge. They do not give resistance, but they do give you 2 absorption hearts and 2, 4, depending on how you want to categorize it, hearts after being eaten. Then, though, we do need to add a new kit. This won't really fit in with a tank theme, but after a little bit of careful consideration, I'm stealing from Treasure Wars, which is gone now. Is this item in Bed Wars? No, I don't think it is. Whatever. I'm talking about the block-breaking boombox. This could be mildly useful if you want to tear through blocks opponents place at your base or defenses at theirs. A little situational, but my other idea was 3 cobwebs, and I don't know if that one is as good, but it can still be considered. Finally, how do we fix the dullness and brain rot that is Hive Bridge after 700 plus games? Well, we add more maps that change the game. First, we need to take into consideration that when this gets added, hypothetically, people will flock to the bridge and experience it again, boosting the player count. Then, after playing the game and enjoying it, because that is what I believe would happen with these new players, the game stays good. Adding more maps and having the bridge be differently shaped, such as the bridge from Phantom244475 on the Hive forums, who suggested a map they built. This concept would work great with some tweaks, and Dicey's Hive Bridge, but it's a circle, would work great for some new maps or some old variations of maps. All of this would fix Hive Bridge. But that's just my opinion, and if you have a different idea, then leave it in the comments. I'll try and read it, but maybe fail. I'm quite inconsistent. If you enjoyed this one, then again, consider subscribing, it would be cool, and like the video and share it if you think it's good. Other than that, I'm Unpaused, and I'm out of here to start editing.